Am I the a-hole for refusing to have my tattoo removed even if it makes my future husband uncomfortable and insecure? I was a widow for 3 years before I met my fiancé, Julius. I lost my husband and 4-year-old son on a boating accident. When I got back on my feet after losing them, I had their names tattooed on my chest. Nothing grand, it's just their names in cursive and 2 hearts. When I met Julius, the first told him about my past, including my depression and how I had to move back to my parents and depended on them for years. He was very understanding, and after over a year of dating, he proposed. Yesterday, while I was getting out of the shower, Julius asked me when I planned to have my tattoo removed. He said he knows someone who's really good and he could give us a discount. This was the first time he mentioned something like this to me, so I wasn't sure how to respond. I just told him I have no plans of having my tattoo removed. Later that day, during dinner, he asked me again and I told him the same thing. He said we're about to get married and it's time for me to move on. I told him I have already moved on. He said it's hardly moving on when I still have their names on my chest, that he can see every time we're intimate. He said it makes him uncomfortable and insecure of my love for him because it looks like I can't let go of my past. He's been giving me the cold shoulder since. I told my mom about what happened and she told me she understands how Julius feels. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It takes some champion-level insecurity to feel threatened by someone's late husband and child. How callous can you get? He needs to love and accept all of who you are, not cut away or hide the parts he'd rather not see. He needs to understand that losing a child isn't something you'll ever be over or move past. My brother has been dead since 1987, and even just a hint of him hearing someone speak his name, the mention of his favorite sporting team, will make my mother immediately cry. That being said, I can also understand how much of a boner killer it might be to have to stare at the names of deceased people while trying to have sex. Is a compromise possible? Maybe you get another tattoo elsewhere, not so visible during sexy times, and remove the ones on your chest? That way you still carry them with and close to you, and he doesn't have to be reminded of something very sad during sex. No a-holes here. Am I the a-hole for not letting the father of my daughter in her life? I'm 23, female, mother of an 8-year-old girl. If you want to do the math, I was 16 when I had her. When I told my ex, let's call him Jake, that I was pregnant, he dumped me and told me that he doesn't want to be part of the baby's life. I told him that he made his choice and don't come back when you want to play daddy. I raised her as a single teen mom. Sure, it was hard, but she was worth it. Recently I got engaged and my fiancé has been wonderful with my daughter. He goes to football games to watch her cheer, any plays or concerts. He's in front row with the biggest smile. My fiancé asked me to adopt her as his own. I don't think I said yes fast enough, and we prepare to ask my daughter to be adopted by him. Jake is back in town and asked me to see my daughter. He went on how he made a mistake by leaving and now his chance to be a dad is nothing because he's infertile after an accident. I told Jake that he made his bed and he should sleep in it. He contacted my family and friends to get in touch with my daughter. Now my family telling that he should see her and how people changed. I told them off and they said that they won't be at my daughter's birthday party unless Jake can see her. Am I the a-hole? Edit, since people asked. He was 17 years old. I was 16. He never signed the birth certificate, and when I was 5 months pregnant, I gave up looking for him. Not the a-hole. She has the right to know her biological father, but I understand you are trying to protect her. He can't just pop in and out of her life and break her heart, so the rules need to be stated clear. You should discuss with your husband and daughter about possibly allowing him to visit. People can change, but it seems that he's desperate since this is his only chance at having a kid now. See what your daughter wants. In the end, she knows who her real father is, your husband. No a-holes here. I understand very well your point, and I would say NTA if it was only you. But there is a child here that has full right to know her father. We all make mistakes. How long do you think is fair he should be punished for bad decision when young? Your child will grow up and seek out sperm donor. How do you think she will react when she finds out as adult that you prevented any relationship when he sought out during her childhood? This is about child right to know her biological father. Am I the a-hole for extracting my husband's sperm? This is such a difficult, uncomfortable story to tell, so please bear with me. About 6 weeks ago, my husband passed away in a car accident. I am still processing and I'm just not okay. I'm trying, but my whole life changed in an instant and I feel like most of me died with him. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital from the scene, but at some point he experienced brain death. By the time I got to see him, he was hooked up to lots of machines to keep him alive, but they told me it was very unlikely he would ever wake up. I gave it 30 days to see if there was a change in his brain activity, but there never was. Before we unplugged him, I talked to the doctor about doing a sperm extraction. We were currently child-free. We were both unsure about children, but figured if we were going to have kids it would be much later. Now that he's gone, I still don't know if I ever want kids. But if I do, I want them to be his. I love him. He is everything good in the world, and I can't stand that he is gone. I'd if I'll ever use the sperm, but I find comfort in knowing there is still a piece of him in the world and potentially a way to carry his memory forward. His sister is a nurse, and she asked to look through all of his chart stuff from the hospital. Without thinking about it, I pointed to a stack of papers on my kitchen table. To say she flipped when she saw the sperm extraction paperwork would be an understatement. She lost her mind screaming at me about it. She said a lot, but this is what I remember. She called me selfish for trying to keep a piece of him for myself. I had no right to do this without talking to his family about it. I'm cruel for dragging his loss out by only maybe having his child. Their mom has been begging me to have children and I wouldn't, and to do it like this is disgusting. And she said he would have never agreed to this. But he did. We're only in our late 20s and we've been together for 10 years. We did talk about this and he agreed I should do it if I want to. We have wills drawn up, and it specifically states in there that he consents to it as long as I'm the one who requests it. As for not talking to the family, so much has happened. I don't feel like I've had the chance to tell them, but I'm not sure if I would have. I haven't had a chance to think. So I guess. Is she right? Am I a huge a-hole for doing this? I guess I never thought how it would make them feel. ETA, if I do have the baby, it won't be for several years. I need to find stability again, and I don't want to have a baby as a response to trauma. That being said, I'm not in a place to discuss/consider the logistics and reality of raising my husband's baby on my own. I'm still trying to figure out how to breathe on my own. Not the a-hole. He was your husband and I'd argue that you have more right to that decision than any of his blood family. If I were to die, I would want my wife calling the shots on everything. I love my parents and siblings, but my wife is the one who has been my partner for everything. The sister is probably just overreacting due to the emotional trauma of the loss. She's not an a-hole, either. Just cut her some slack while she deals with it, but do whatever you need to do for you. You're the a-hole for wanting a child to grow up without a father. And what if you die? Then the child has no parent. That is cruel. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my stepson, 17, have a PowerPoint project display in honor of his deceased mom at my wedding? Basically the title. My fiancé, 42 and I 36, are getting married before the end of this year, 2022. He has a son, 17, from his former marriage with his late wife who passed away from cancer. I'd like to think that my stepson and I have a good relationship. However, he is the most sensitive and emotional kid I've ever met. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it does make it difficult for me to deal with him sometimes. He said he has already prepared a PowerPoint project in honor of his mom and is planning on playing or displaying it at the wedding. This was an instant no for me for many reasons. My fiancé said we should let him because he just wants to remember and honor his mom. I told him that this occasion, the wedding, has nothing to do with my stepson's mom, so I'm not sure why put a whole PowerPoint project there at the wedding about her. It takes away guests' attention and makes them confused. My fiancé said we have to respect his son's wishes and also said he'll pay for the screen and everything. We had a huge fight about it and I refused to even consider it. The whole thing is just a no-go. I even offered to have maybe few pictures or a seat as alternative, but my stepson isn't having it. Things have been pretty tense now. My stepson isn't talking to me. My fiancé just keeps trying to guilt me into saying yes, and it's all just making me feel overwhelmed. Am I the a-hole for refusing to make this happen? My fiancé commented saying my refusal is an indication that I have an issue with my stepson's mom and that I'm being unfair to him since he spent so much time and effort to prepare this project that obviously means a lot to him. Side note, this isn't about my stepson's mom. I don't have any negative feelings towards her. In fact, I think that she was a fighter, battled cancer not once but twice. She played huge role in what my fiancé has become now, and I'm so grateful for that. About my stepson's grief, when I first met him, he seemed to keep to himself and not attend any family functions. Even when inside the house, he avoids spending time with family, is quiet most of the time and doesn't really talk much. I suggested therapy, but my fiancé said he mentioned this once to him and his son yelled at him telling him to stop acting like there was something wrong with him by bringing up therapy. My fiancé stopped bringing it up, and whenever I try to mention it again he'd shut me down hard. Not the a-hole. You have the right to make the day be about your current love with your fiancé, not to feel like you're living in his deceased wife's shadow. I don't think the kid is in a hole. I think the wedding is making his grief come back to the surface, but your husband kinda is. Sit down with your stepson and ask him to show you the slideshow. As you go, ask him to tell you stories about his mom and all the wonderful things he remembers about her. Then tell him that she sounds like she was a wonderful person, and she deserves to be remembered in her own context, and propose that you have a memorial service on a given day this year, say, the anniversary of her death, or her birthday, where she can truly be celebrated. Maybe set this as like a month or two before the wedding for your sake. Suggest that this be a special party that he plans, with help if needed. Then say, I know you wanted to play this at the wedding, but it's beautiful and it really deserves to be used at a celebration that is about your mom, not at a party to celebrate your dad and me. Let's use this for our memorial service instead. In other words, affirm his grief and give him an outlet for the work he did, but stand firm. And don't let your fiancé be part of that conversation. Separately, let him know that this was a shitty way to handle his son's grief and that it made you feel disrespected and less than. No holes here. I don't think anyone is being awful here, just people not knowing how to help one another. There are 2 things that I think could help. I think you need to encourage your fiancé to have a wake or memorial in honor of his late wife. Something where his son can play his PowerPoint and it is all about his mom and nothing to do with you or his dad. If you can, try to explain therapy to your fiancé as basically a way to speak out your feelings, and that it is nothing about anyone being broken. You can treat it as a journal or outlet for anything you can't say to anyone else. A place where they will never get tired of talking about his mother. Am I the a-hole for letting my ex sign over his paternity rights before he knew the babies were his? My, female 42, boyfriend, male 57, of 4 years split recently. We met while we were both going through divorces and we got together about 6 months after mine was final. His was final before mine. We live in different towns so we sometimes would go a couple of weeks between visits due to distance, but it worked for us. He has 4 kids, male 37, female 35, male 14, male 12, and has shared custody of the 2 youngest with his second ex-wife. I share 2 kids, male 18, female 16, with my ex-husband. It just hasn't made sense for us to move closer due to having to fight with exes to change custody agreements. I found out 8 months ago I was pregnant. This was completely unexpected as he had a vasectomy after his last son was born. Neither of us had any intention to have more children and I was not prepared to be pregnant at 41. I didn't even find out until I was almost 5 months along because my periods have been odd for years due to a combination of weight loss, anemia, genetics and age. I went to see him and his reaction was, well, he broke things off with me and had some very choice words to call me. He refused to believe anything other than that I was seeing someone else and trying to pin this pregnancy on him. His ex-wife cheated on him often, which is why they split, so part of me understands his emotional reaction, but he spent the last 8 months ghosting me and has refused to even speak to me. The babies, twins male and female, were born 3 months ago. I do not need his financial help, but I decided to file for child support so he would do a paternity test. Once his friend said he took the test, but before we had the results, which I never needed, he was the only person I had been with, I had him served with papers to sign over his parental rights and all financial responsibility as well. Unsurprisingly, he signed the papers without hesitation. We got the paternity test results back and now he is blowing up my phone and showing up at my house angry at me and saying I am a jerk because I refuse to entertain the idea of getting back together or moving closer to him. He also says I tricked him into signing over his rights. I am aware he may be able to fight me as it is recent. Some of my friends and family are telling me I am in a hole for doing this to him and others say they understand why I did. So dear Reddit, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Why would you get back together with someone who accused you of cheating? He has nobody to blame but himself. And if he signed over rights and the kids weren't his, the papers wouldn't have meant a damn thing. Sounds to me like his family is giving him shit and now he wants to save face. Gentle, everyone sucks here because I do think he kind of deserved it. Please keep in mind that it isn't about you or him anymore. This is about 2 children that deserve to have their father in their life. Am I the a-hole for refusing access to my food? There are 4 of us in the house. I noticed that some of my food has been going missing. I'm not unreasonable. If one of them ran out of something and took some of mine, I would be okay with it if they tell me and replace it. I asked the housemates about my missing food and they all denied taking anything. I asked if they have anyone over who may have taken it. They all denied. My food kept going missing, so I bought a mini fridge, set it up in my room and moved all my fridge food to my room and also moved my other food to a bookshelf in my room. Later on, one housemate saw me bringing food out my room and asked why do I have my food in my room. I explained I was sick of my food being taken and everyone denying it, so I've moved everything to my room. This housemate told the others what I was doing. One laughed and said it was a good idea and the other said it was extreme but understandable. One said that I was overreacting and we should all share food in the house and I need to stop being such a child and bring my food back into the kitchen. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. The one who said you were overreacting is the one who was stealing your food. Am I the a-hole for cutting my parents off after they lied about having a savings for me? Throwaway because I don't want my username tied to this. I'm 18 male. Ever since I was a child, my parents have told me that they have a savings account in my name and they'll give me the money when I turn 18. The only rule was that any time I got into serious trouble or was grounded, my parents would tax me by taking some of the money out of the savings. It was enough to encourage me to not get into trouble often. I recently turned 18 and a few weeks after my birthday, I asked my parents about the savings account. My dad just got this huge grin on his face, and my mom avoided answering. They finally admitted that was there no savings, and they just used it to keep me out of trouble. I flipped out on them and stormed out. The next day, I went home and packed as much as I could, and left and haven't been back since. My parents have tried to contact me multiple times, and have had family members and friends try to contact me on their behalf. They've apologized, accused me of being entitled and caring more about money than family, guilt-tripped me, and apologized some more. I'm now staying with a friend and have a job, and I'll be moving into my own place with a roommate soon. A friend of mine told me that this isn't worth ruining my relationship with them over, and that one day I'll look back and see this as trivial. But I have no desire to forgive my parents or be in contact with them, because it isn't just about the money to me, it's about the fact that they've been lying for years, and made me look forward to something that never existed. Am I the a-hole for cutting them off over this? My dad just got this huge grin on his face, and my mom avoided answering. This is very telling. Your father was pleased and proud that he'd pulled a fast one on you. He lied to you for years to manipulate you rather than to actually parent and guide you to make the right choices. You are free to go NC with them over this, and no one can tell you it is a good or bad choice. It is a choice. The question I have is, do you want to raise this bridge up for the moment or tear it down/burn it permanently? Only you can answer that question. Congratulations on growing up well in spite of their lazy/poor parenting. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your reaction might be a little extreme. If you were hoping to use the money for college, I totally get it. That's a dream that was all of a sudden taken away. If you just wanted to buy a car or something, then it's just annoying. You had plans for this money and it was all for nothing. If you were planning to use it for college or trade school, tell your parents that. Tell them you thought you had a chance at debt-free or low-debt schooling and it was a lie. Make them feel bad.